The elevator doors slid open with a sterile chime. And there he was, Christopher, leaning against the marble wall of my corner office on the 72nd floor, his ghost as vivid as the day I walked away. His blue eyes, sharp as shattered glass, locked onto mine, and in that split second, the skyline of New York blurred into the rainy campus quad where we'd first kissed under a storm-swept oak. "You think glass walls can keep me out, John?" His voice echoed, not in my ears but in the hollow ache of my chest, as if he'd clawed his way back from the grave of our promises. I dropped the briefcase, contracts scattering like fallen leaves, my heart slamming against ribs that felt too frail to contain it. 15 years I'd built this empire, deals sealed in smoke-filled rooms, promotions clawed from the jaws of cutthroat rivals, but in his spectral gaze, it all crumbled to ash. He stepped forward, translucent fingers brushing my tie, and whispered, "Success tastes like regret, doesn't it? Come back to me, or I'll drag you under." The boardroom fell silent as I bolted from the table mid-pitch, ignoring the stunned stares of the suits who'd crowned me king of mergers and acquisitions. Rain hammered the windows like accusations, and as I fled down the emergency stairs, 2 at a time, lungs burning, I knew Christopher wasn't dead. Not yet. But the man I'd buried alive in my ambition was rising, and he'd tear down every gilded cage I'd built to trap us both. I slammed into the lobby of the Sterling Tower, the doorman's polite Mr. Hargrove, lost in the roar of my pulse. Outside, Manhattan's November chill bit through my wool overcoat like a lover's grudge, the wind whipping rain across Fifth Avenue in sheets that turned the world to watercolor smears. Taxis honked like wounded beasts, umbrellas inverting in the gale, but I didn't hail one. I ran, blocks blurring into a frantic montage of steamed-up delis, neon-lit bodegas, and the endless parade of strangers who'd never know the weight I carried. By the time I hit Washington Square Park, my shirt clung cold and sodden, breaths coming in ragged gasps that fogged the air. The arch loomed like a judgmental sentinel, its white stone slick and unforgiving under the downpour. I collapsed onto a bench, the wood groaning under me, and that's when the memories hit harder than the rain. Unbidden, unrelenting, pulling me back to that sweltering August freshman year at NYU. Christopher had been the quiet storm in my poli-sci lecture hall, slouched in the back row with a dog-eared copy of Whitman shielding his face. I was the golden boy from Ohio suburbs, John Hargrove, debate team captain, valedictorian with a full ride and dreams of Wall Street that burned brighter than the dorm lights we'd sneak into after curfew. Our eyes met over a shared syllabus, his crinkling with that half-smile that said he saw through my polished facade to the scared kid underneath, the one who'd lied to his Baptist parents about why he preferred poetry slams to football games. That first night, we'd wandered these same paths, the park alive with buskers strumming Dylan covers and the faint scent of weed from hidden alcoves. "You're chasing shadows, John," he'd said, his voice low and gravelly, laced with that faint Texas drawl he'd never quite shaken. We'd shared a joint pilfered from a roommate, my first, his 100th, and as the haze settled, he leaned in, lips brushing mine tentative as a question. The kiss that followed was fire, hungry, exploratory, tasting of rebellion and rain-damp leaves. We broke apart laughing, breathless, the world tilting on its axis. "Shadows?" I'd echoed, pulling him closer. "Nah, I'm chasing you." From there, it was a whirlwind etched in stolen moments. Study sessions in Bob's library dissolving into tangled limbs under study carols. His calloused hands, remnants of summers baling hay back home, tracing paths of fire across my skin. Late-night diner runs to Veselka for pierogies at 3 a.m., where he'd steal my fries and murmur sonnets into my ear until the waitress rolled her eyes. We were invincible, two boys building a fortress against the world's sharp edges. Coming out wasn't a choice. It was inevitable, a flag planted in the fertile soil of Greenwich Village bars and pride parades that snaked through these very streets. But even then, the cracks spiderwebbed. My internships piled up, summer stints at boutique firms on Wall Street, where suits in Hermes ties eyed my Midwestern earnestness like a curiosity. Leverage your youth, Hargrove, my mentor drawled over scotch at the Palm. Ruthless is the new ambitious. Christopher saw it creeping in. The way I'd check my BlackBerry every 5 minutes during our walks, prioritizing emails from headhunters over the warmth of his palm in mine. Don't let them turn you into one of them, he'd warn, his fingers tightening like anchors. I'd laugh it off, kiss the worry from his brow. I'm building us a future, Chris. Penthouse views, trips to the Keys. You'll see, sophomore year, the betrayal began in whispers. He dropped out after his folks cut him off. Old-school ranchers who called his phase a devil's whisper when he finally confessed over a crackling phone line. I found him in our shoebox apartment off Bleecker, curled on the futon with a bottle of Jack. Eyes red-rimmed but defiant. They said pray it away, John. Like it's a fucking flu. I held him through the sobs, promising we'd make it, scholarships, side gigs, waiting tables at that hole-in-the-wall Italian joint on McDougal. But guilt gnawed at me, a quiet thief. Why couldn't I fix this? Why wasn't my straight-A armor enough to shield him? By junior year, the chasm widened. Goldman Sachs came calling with an offer too golden to refuse. Analyst position postgrad. Relocation to the city that never sleeps. It's our ticket, I told him over lukewarm takeout in our kitchenette, the one with the faucet that dripped like a metronome of our arguments. He set down his fork, those blue eyes hardening. Our ticket? Or yours? You're packing for a life that doesn't have room for us, John. Late nights. Schmoozing clients. Where do I fit in that machine? I reached for his hand, but he pulled away. You're my everything. This is for us. Lies. Even then. The thrill of the deal. The validation of the corner office. It sang in my veins louder than his pleas. Graduation came like a guillotine. We stood under the arch again. Caps tossed into a sea of cheering faces. But his smile was brittle as rice paper. That night, in a borrowed tux, we danced at a dive bar in the East Village. His body pressed to mine in the dim glow of Christmas lights strung year-round. Promise me, he murmured into my neck, the bass thumping like a heartbeat. No matter what, we fight for this. I nodded, throat tight, sealing it with a kiss that tasted of bourbon and forever. But the next morning, as the sun clawed through our blinds, I was gone, sublet signed, U-Haul loaded with my half of the life we'd shared. A note on the fridge, I love you more than words. This is temporary. Call me when you're ready. He never did. And I never went back. Now, soaked to the bone on that bench, the rain easing to a drizzle, I pulled out my phone, fingers trembling as I scrolled through ghosts of texts from a decade ago. Miss you tonight. Dreamt of your laugh. Deleted. All of them. In a fit of resolve after the first promotion. Success demanded sacrifice, I told myself. But as the park emptied, joggers folding away like origami under the threat of thunder, Christopher's face superimposed over the screen. accusatory, yearning. Was it guilt, hallucination, or had the universe finally tired of my cowardice? I hailed a cab finally, the driver eyeing my drowned rat state with pity. Where to? Chief. The village, I muttered, giving the old address like a confession. The ride blurred, Times Square's assault of lights giving way to the narrower veins of the city, where history clung to brownstones like ivy. As we pulled up to the familiar stoop, heart in my throat, I paid and stepped out, staring up at windows dark as judgment. This wasn't home anymore. But maybe it was where the haunting began. Pushing the buzzer felt like tempting fate, no name lit up, just the anonymous hum. The door clicked open, and I climbed, each creak of the stairs echoing our laughter, our fights, the creak of the bed frame under urgent nights. At the top, the door to 4B stood ajar, a sliver of lamplight spilling like an invitation. Chris, my voice cracked, barely above the drip of water from my coat. He was there, real as the rain, older, lines etched around those eyes, hair threaded with silver, but unmistakably him. Lounging on the couch in faded jeans and a threadbare Henley, a sketchpad balanced on his knee, charcoal smudges on his fingers. The room smelled of turpentine and take-out lo mein, unchanged yet evolved. Our old posters peeled at the edges, new canvases leaning against walls depicting stormy seascapes that screamed unspoken pain. John, not a question, just a exhale, heavy with the weight of years. He set the pad aside, rising slow, like a man who'd learned to guard his steps. Figured you'd show up eventually. The ghosts don't lie. I crossed the threshold, door clicking shut behind me like a trap springing. You're here. Idiotic words, but they tumbled out, my eyes devouring him, the faint scar above his lip from that biking accident in Prospect Park, the way his shoulders still carried the rancher's breadth. Always have been. He crossed his arms, a barrier of muscle and memory. You built your castle, king of the concrete jungle. What brings the prodigal back? Another merger gone south. The jab landed, sharp as a stiletto. I shrugged off my coat, pooling at my feet like shed skin. You. In my office. Today. Clear as day. I laughed, bitter and broken. Am I losing it, Chris? Or did you finally curse me good? His expression softened. Just a flicker, before the walls slammed up. No curse. Just karma. Sit. You look like hell. We talked, or rather, he listened as I spilled, words cascading like the storm outside. The ascent, junior analyst to VP in 7 years. The penthouse on the Upper East Side with views that mocked my solitude. The parade of one-night stands that tasted like ash because none had his fire. I thought it'd fill the hole, I admitted, staring at my hands. Manicured now, ringless. But you're everywhere. In the boardroom echoes, the hotel bar mirrors. Haunting me, he nodded, pouring us both a finger of the same Jack we'd favored back then, the bottle half empty on the coffee table. You left a note, John. Temporary, that's what kills me. Not the leaving, but pretending it was a pause. His voice roughened, eyes distant. I waited 6 months. Calls to your office, showing up at events like some stalker ex. Then I stopped. Built a life here, teaching art at the community center, scraping by. But you're the ghost in my sketches. The whiskey burned going down, warming the chill. We sat there, inches apart, the air thick with what-ifs. His knee brushed mine. Accidental, electric, a spark that ignited old hungers. "I'm sorry," I whispered, the words inadequate as rain on fire. "For chasing the wrong dream." He turned then, cupping my jaw with charcoal-dusted fingers, thumb tracing my lip. "Dreams change, John. But betrayal, that scars." His kiss, when it came, was slow, deliberate, a reclamation, tasting of forgiveness and fury. We tumbled to the futon, clothes shedding like old skins, bodies remembering rhythms long forgotten. His touch was reverent, exploratory, mapping the man I'd become, the tension in my shoulders from 80-hour weeks, the softness around my middle from stress-eaten room service. I worshipped him back, kisses to the freckles on his chest, apologies murmured into the hollow of his throat. Dawn crept in gray and forgiving, finding us tangled, his head on my chest, breath sinking like a duet resumed. "Stay," he murmured, sleepy and vulnerable. "Just today." I promised I would. But as I lay there, staring at the cracked ceiling, doubt slithered in. The board meeting at noon loomed, a deal worth millions teetering. Could I walk away, or was this haunting just the prelude to another ghosting? The community center on Houston Street buzzed with the chaotic symphony of urban renewal. Kids in oversized hoodies dribbling basketballs in the gym. Elders shuffling through ESL classes with dog-eared notebooks. The faint thump of hip-hop leaking from a counselor's office. Christopher led me through it like a tour guide reclaiming his kingdom. His stride easy, shoulders relaxed in a way Wall Street had beaten out of me years ago. "This is home now," he said, gesturing to a mural splashed across the lobby wall. Vibrant faces in a riot of color, hands linked in defiance of the gray city beyond. Taught half these kids to hold a brush. Better than boardrooms. I forced a smile, the whiskey haze lifting to reveal the raw edges of vulnerability. We'd parted that morning with a lingering kiss at his door. Mine reluctant, his resigned. "Noon," I'd said, buttoning my shirt with fumbling fingers. "I'll call." He hadn't pressed, just nodded, that Texas stoicism masking the hurt. Now, trailing him into the art room, I felt like an intruder in his world, my polished loafers scuffing against linoleum scarred by crayons and determination. The space was a riot of creation. Easels ringed with drying palettes, walls papered in student works, raw, unfiltered bursts of emotion that made my curated life feel sterile. A cluster of teens huddled around a table, arguing over shading techniques, their laughter sharp and unself-conscious. Christopher dove in, critiquing a bold abstract with gentle precision. "See how the red bleeds here? That's anger finding its shape." "Own it." One girl, braids tied back with a bandana, shot him a grin. "Like you own that storm piece, mister." "See? The one that looks like it ate your soul." He chuckled, but his eyes flicked to me. Wary, Wang. Something like that. To me. Later, as the class filtered out for lunch, "They keep me honest, John. No bullshit filters." We grabbed falafel from a truck outside, perching on a hydrant amid the lunchtime crush. Delivery bikers weaving like hornets, suits speedwalking with earbuds in. The pita was warm, tahini dripping onto my tie, and for a moment, it was us again, uncomplicated, the city our playground. "Tell me everything," I said, wiping my mouth, craving the details I'd forfeited. After I left, he leaned back, eyes on the traffic snarl at the light. "Broke for a while. Drank too much, Sketch too little. Then therapy, group for queer kids disowned by family. Met folks who'd lost more than I had. Started volunteering here. Turned it into a gig. It's not glamorous, but it's real. A pause. Heavy as the falafel settling. Dated a bit. Barista named Alex. Sweet, but he wanted picket fences in Jersey. I couldn't leave the village. It's got my ghosts pinned down. Jealousy twisted. Irrational and hot. And me? Did I? Haunt? Every damn day. He met my gaze. Unflinching. Your note taped to my fridge for years. Temporary. I believed it. John. Waited like a fool. His voice cracked. Just once. Before stealing. Then I burned it. Started living for me. Guilt clawed deeper. Mingling with the spices on my tongue. I was scared. I admitted. The words foreign after years of executive bravado. Mom and Dad. They'd finally accepted the city boy phase. But if they knew about us, the firm, the partners, they'd whisper. I thought success would prove I was worthy. Of you. Of everything. He snorted, but there was no malice. Worthy? You were always enough. Idiot. It was the chase that broke us. He stood, crumpling his wrapper. Come on. Show you my studio. Up 3 flights of narrow stairs. The air thick with paint and possibility. His space unfolded. A converted storage room with skylights cracked for ventilation. Canvases stacked like accusations. The centerpiece. A massive triptych of the Brooklyn Bridge at dusk. Cables fracturing into shards of light and shadow. Storms brewed in the oils. Lovers blurred in the mist. A narrative of longing painted in bruised purples and electric blues. This one's you, he said softly, tracing a figure on the central panel. A man in silhouette, arms outstretched toward a receding horizon. Chasing, I swallowed hard, throat tight. It's beautiful. Painful, but my hand found his, fingers lacing instinctive. I'm here now. For how long? The question hung, fragile as the brush in his grip. My phone buzzed then, insistent, the board's ringtone slicing the intimacy. 11:45. The merger. A tech startup swallow. Billions on the line. My signature the linchpin. I have to. Go. He released me, turning back to his easel. Duty calls. Mr. Hargrove. The cab ride uptown was torture. Rain resuming in earnest. Wipers slapping judgment. Sterling Tower rose like a monolith, swallowing me whole. In the elevator, mirrors reflected a man unraveling. Ty Askew, eyes haunted. The boardroom waited, shark circling Victor Lang. Miso, with his predatory grin. Elena, the HR shark who'd buried 3 problem execs last quarter. John, darling, you're late. Victor purred as I slid into my seat, the projector humming with spreadsheets that blurred before me. Traffic, I lied, voice steady by force of will. The pitch flowed synergies, ROI projections, the ruthless calculus of empire. They nodded, impressed, but my mind wandered to charcoal smudges, to falafel crumbs on a hydrant. Halfway through, Christopher's voice echoed. Shadows. John. I faltered, fumbling a slide. Elena's brow arched. Everything all right, John? You seem distracted. Jet lag. I quipped, forcing the room's laughter. But inside, the fracture widened. As we sealed the deal, handshakes all around. Champagne popped in flutes that chimed like chains. I felt the first real crack in my armor. Success, tangible as the contract in my briefcase, tasted hollow. Victor clapped my back. Knew you had it in you, Hargrove. Dinner at Del Frisco's to celebrate. Rain check. I was out the door before the cork popped again. Hailing a car service this time, directing it south. The driver raised an eyebrow at the U-turn. Changed your mind, boss? Yeah, I muttered, sinking into leather seats that suddenly felt like a coffin. Heading home, back at the village. The stoop was empty, buzzer silent. Panic flickered. Had he gone out? A date? No. That was my paranoia. I waited, 10 minutes stretching to 20, rain pooling at my feet. Finally, the door buzzed, and he appeared, paint-splattered, hair-tousled, a fresh canvas under his arm. Twice in one day? To what do I owe the encore? I stepped close, the scent of him, oil and earth, grounding me. The deal closed. Billions. And it meant nothing. My hands framed his face, thumbs brushing his cheeks. You're my everything, Chris. Always were. His eyes searched mine, wary hope dawning. Prove it. We didn't make it to the couch. The hallway suitor's narrow confines became our confessional. Backs against peeling wallpaper, my tie yanked free, his shirt rucked up to expose the taut plane of his abs. Kisses turned feral, teeth grazing collarbones, nails raking spines, a collision of pent-up years. He tasted like salt and storm, his moans low and guttural, vibrating through me as I dropped to my knees, worshipping with a devotion I'd reserved for balance sheets. John, he gasped, fingers threading my hair. Fuck. I've missed this. Missed you. Upstairs. We mapped forgiveness in the sheets. Slow at first, reverent, then urgent, bodies sinking in a rhythm honed by memory. He arched under me, blue eyes locked on mine, whispering litanies of more and don't stop, until release crashed over us like waves on that Brooklyn canvas. Afterward, sated and spent, we lay entwined, his heartbeat a steady drum against my palm. Tell me about the scars, I murmured, tracing a faint line across his ribs, new, jagged. Bar fight, he said, voice muffled in my shoulder. Couple years back. Some asshole called me a fag after last call. Defended my honor. A chuckle. Dark. Won. But it cost me a rib. Reminds me. Some things are worth the break. I kissed the mark. Guilt twisting anew. I should have been there. You are now. He propped on an elbow, studying me. But John's a big boy. What's the catch? You gonna ghost again when the sun's up? No catch. The words were vow. Fierce. I'm done chasing shadows. We talked till midnight. Plans sketched in whispers. Me handing notice. Him introducing me to his world of pigments and purpose. Sleep came easy, his warmth banishing the chill. But dreams were crueler. Visions of boardrooms bleeding into courtrooms, Victor's face morphing to my father's, disapproving, distant. Worthy? The specter sneered. I woke sweating, Christopher's arm heavy across my waist, the clock glowing 4:17 a.m. Outside, the city slumbered uneasy, sirens wailing distant laments. I slipped from bed, padding to the window, staring at the fire escapes laced with rain-slick vines. Freedom tasted sweet, but terror lurked. What if this was the real haunting? Not him, but the life I'd outrun. Clawing back. Morning brought coffee and clarity, or so I thought. Christopher stirred, smiling sleepy as he pulled me down for a lazy kiss. Day 2. How's the king holding up sans crown? Better. I meant it, lacing fingers with his over mugs of diner brew. We ventured out for bagels at Essa Bagel, the line snaking around the block, New Yorkers griping good-naturedly about the wait. His hand in mine felt defiant, a middle finger to the stairs, subtle, but there. An old lady ahead clucked approval. Young love. Hold it tight. Boys. Back home, his home. Our maybe. We lost the afternoon to sketches. Him guiding my hand over paper, teaching strokes that loosen the knots in my soul. Art's like love, he said, charcoal dust on his nose. Messy, imperfect, but honest. As dusk fell, my phone lit up Victor's number, insistent. I silenced it, but the vibration persisted, a serpent in Eden. Ignore it, Christopher urged, nuzzling my neck. But curiosity won. I stepped into the hall, answering low. Hargrove. What the hell? Victor's voice was silk over steel. That startup CEO's pulling out, says our projections smell fishy. Get your ass back here. We need damage control. My stomach dropped. Victor. Now. John. Or kiss that bonus goodbye. And the promotion. A pause. Laced with insinuation. Family man like you can't afford slip-ups. The line went dead, leaving echoes. Family man? The lie I'd fed them, vague mentions of settling down. To fit the mold. Betrayal reversed. Not just mine, but theirs. Coiling tight. I re-entered, face ashen. Christopher read it instant. The Empire calls. It's a snag. I can fix it quick. Lies again, slippery as rain. He stood, arms crossing like shields. Go, then. But don't come back half-assed, John. I'm all in or nothing. The door closed soft behind me, but the slam echoed in my chest. Back in the cab, Manhattan's lights mocked me, success's siren song, drowning the man I loved. The Sterling Tower's lobby gleamed under crystal chandeliers, a cathedral to capitalism where deals were sacraments and failures heresy. I strode through like a penitent, badge beeping me past security, the elevator's ascent a slow crucifixion. Floor 72, my domain, now a prison of glass and ambition. Victor waited in my office, pacing like a panther, his Armani suit impeccable, cufflinks glinting like fangs. John, thank Christ. He gripped my shoulders. False camaraderie. The CEO, tech whiz kid from Silicon Alley, smells blood. Says our due diligence missed a patent snag. If he walks, we're hemorrhaging credibility. I sank into my chair, the leather creaking judgment, firing up my laptop. Spreadsheets bloomed. Numbers that once thrilled now blurred into indictments. How bad? Catastrophic. But you're the closer. Charm him over steak at Peter Luger. Tonight. The word lodged like a thorn. Christopher's face flashed, charcoal smudged, hopeful colliding with the merger's cold calculus. Victor, I need to think fast. He leaned in, voice dropping. Rumor mills churning. John. Whispers about you going soft. Skipping the celebration? Odd hours. A smirk. Probing. Everything. Kosher at home. The insinuation slithered. Unspoken but clear. The firm was a boys' club, Old money laced with old prejudices. I danced that line for years, discreet dates, alibis of gym buddies, to climb untainted. Now, choked. Everything's fine, I snapped, sharper than intended. I'll handle it. He backed off. Hands up. Attaboy. 7 p.m. Sharp. Alone. The office closed in, Christopher's ghost materializing again. Perched on my desk. Legs swinging casual. Kosher. Huh? Still playing house for the suits. His laugh was hollow echo. I waved it away, but the vision lingered. Blue eyes said. The call to the CEO dragged. Schmoozing over speaker. Apologies laced with flattery. Promises of revised terms that twisted my gut. He bit dinner confirmed. As I hung up, nausea rose. This was the life I'd chosen. Deal by deal. Lie by lie. But for what? A title? A view that isolated more than elevated? I texted Christopher. Snag at work. Dinner with client. Back late. Miss you. Sent. Then deleted the last, too vulnerable. Too soon. His reply pinged instant. Fix your empire, King. Doors open if you remember the way. Peter Luger was a carnivore's confessional. Dark wood panels. Waiters in bow ties ferrying platters of dry-aged porterhouse that sizzled like accusations. The CEO, Marcus Hale, mid-30s, venture capital polished with a man bun and tattoos peeking from his cuff, greeted me with a firm handshake, eyes appraising. Hargrove, the legend. Heard you eat startups for breakfast. Only the ripe ones, I quipped, sliding into the booth. Menu a shield. Steak arrived rare, blood pooling like guilt, and we dove in, shop talk flowing easy. Blockchain disruptions, AI synergies, the ruthless poetry of valuation. He was sharp, queer adjacent in his casual mentions of Fire Island weekends, but the undercurrent was predatory, probing my personal life with sly grins, testing for cracks. You're not what I expected, he said over tiramisu. Fork poised. The boardroom shark? Nah, you've got layers. Boyfriend keeping you grounded? The question hung. Fork in the road. As always, or truth, raw and risking, wine loosen my tongue. Actually, rekindling. He's my anchor. Marcus leaned back, intrigued. Brave. In our world, coming out's a luxury. But hell, if it keeps you human. He raised his glass. To anchors. And closing this deal, we sealed it there. Handshake evolving to a napkin scribbled billions secured in strokes of ink. Elation should have surged, but it fizzled. Another notch, another haunt deferred. As I paid the check firm card, of course, Marcus clapped my back. You're good people, John. Don't let the machine grind you down. Outside, the Brooklyn Bridge loomed across the East River, cables a lattice of light against the night. I walked it on impulse, the wind off the water sharp as memory, pedestrians bundled against the chill. Halfway across, phone in hand, I dialed Christopher, not texting, needing his voice. It rang twice. John, warm, wary. The deal's saved. Steak and schmooze did it, a beat. But I told him about us. Sort of. Silence. Then, progress. Get home safe. Chris. Wait. I love you. The words escaped. Unbidden. True. A pause. Ocean deep. I know. Me too. Hurry back. The bridge's end deposited me in Dumbo. Warehouses reborn as lofts. But I cabbed straight to the village. The city a blur of neon veins. His building stoop was a beacon. Door opening before I knocked. Christopher silhouetted. Concern etching his brow. You look wrecked. Long night. I pulled him close, burying my face in his neck, inhaling turpentine and home. But worth it. We made love slow that time, by candlelight from thrift store stubs, exploring with the tenderness of second chances. His body a map I'd redrawn in dreams. Fingers interlaced overhead, gasps syncing with the distant rumble of the F train. Climax a quiet wave that left us drifting. Stay tonight, he whispered postlude, tracing patterns on my chest. All night. I will. No caveats. Sleep claimed us. Dreams kinder, walks in the park, hands held unashamed. But dawn brought the serpent's hiss. My alarm blaring at 6 a.m. Board summons for a debrief. I silenced it, but Victor's follow-up text burned urgent. Hale's team leaking to Wall Street Journal. PR nightmare. Groaning, I slipped from bed, dressing quiet as theft. Christopher stirred, eyes opening sleepy. Going somewhere? Quick meeting. Back by lunch. Kiss to his forehead. Lie lingering like smoke. The tower devoured me again. Crisis mode. War room with Elena spinning damage control. Victor barking orders. Hargrove. Your charm offensive. Did it stick? I nodded, diving into revisions. Hours evaporating in a vortex of calls and clauses. By noon, the leak was contained, spin to strategic pivot. But lunch was a sandwich at my desk. Christopher's unanswered texts piling. Bagels? You okay, John? Guilt festered as the day dragged. More fires. A client meltdown. The grind that had forged me. 7 p.m. Found me staring at my reflection in the darkened window. The city a glittering trap. His ghost appeared beside me, hand on my shoulder. Chose yet, John? Us or the abyss? I grabbed my coat, fleeing to the elevator and straight into Elena. John, gala tomorrow, big donors. You emceeing, right? Sterling's face. The annual black tie bash. Schmoozers in tuxes. Toasts to innovation, where I'd once thrived. Elena. Non-negotiable. Her smile was steel. Unless you want that promotion evaporating. Cornered. I nodded. Back in the village. Christopher waited. Dinner cooling on the stove. Expression thunderous. Lunch? Try dinner, John. Or is that too quick too? I'm sorry. Save it. He paced. Agitation crackling. This is the pattern, isn't it? You dip in, stir the pot, then bolt when the heat's on. I can't do half measures anymore. The fight erupted then, words as weapons. My accusations of martyrdom. His of chronic abandonment. You left once, he roared, voice breaking. What's stopping round two? Nothing, I shouted back, truth slashing. Everything. I want this us, but the world's not bending. He deflated, sinking to the futon. Then make it bend, John. Or let me go for good. I knelt before him, taking his hands, cold, trembling. I will. Tomorrow the gala. I'll quit. Publicly, if I have to. His eyes widened, hope warring with hurt. Don't promise what you can't. I can. Kiss. Ceiling. We salvaged the night in fragile peace. Dinner reheated, stories swapped, laughter tentative but real. Bed brought solace, his body my compass. Yet sleep evaded, mind churning. Quit, after 15 years. The identity I'd welded to success? The betrayal loomed larger, not just to him, but to the boy who'd fled Ohio for this dream. Morning gala prep consumed, tailor fittings, speech drafts. Christopher walked me to the subway, hand in mine. Proud of you, he said, kissing me fierce amid commuters. Be you up there. The Waldorf's ballroom was opulence incarnate. Chandeliers dripping light, gowns swirling like auroras, air thick with perfume and power. I stood at the podium, tuck starched, heart pounding, not nerves, but resolve. Toasts flowed, accolades for the merger, victor beaming from the head table. My turn, mic in hand, eyes scanning the crowd, suits I'd emulated, lives I'd envied. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, voice steady. Tonight, we celebrate ambition. But I've learned too late, maybe that true success isn't in the clothes, but in the connections we nurture. Pause, breath. And so, with gratitude, I resign as VP of M&A. To chase what's real. Gasps rippled, Victor's face ashen. But in the chaos, flashes popping, whispers erupting, a figure slipped in late. Christopher, tuxedo rented, grin wide as the Hudson. He mouthed, "You did it." Elation surged, pure. But as I stepped down, Victor cornered me in the foyer, grip iron on my arm. "What the fuck, John? This is career suicide. Or rebirth." I pulled free, joining Christopher amid the throng. His kiss, public and unapologetic, silenced the stares. We escaped to the street, hailed a cab to the village, laughter bubbling like champagne. "Free man," he toasted with a flask from his pocket. But freedom's aftertaste was bitter. By midnight, emails flooded, resignation accepted, personal reasons cited, bridges torched. Victor's final text, "You'll regret this." We both will. In bed, Christopher's arms my harbor. Doubt whispered, regret or relief? The first week of unemployment was a revelation and a reckoning. Mornings without alarms tyranny. Coffee brewed slow on Christopher's ancient percolator. The village awakening in lazy increments. Vendors hawking chestnuts. Dogs paraded by owners in barber coats. The air crisp with impending winter. We lingered in bed. Sheets tangled. His fingers sketching idle patterns on my thigh as sunlight slanted through blinds. "What now, Mr. Ex-exec?" He'd tease, nipping my earlobe. "World domination via watercolors?" I laughed, pulling him atop me, the weight of him grounding. "Your world. Teach me," and he did. Mornings at the community center, afternoons in his studio, my hands, once confined to keyboards, now smeared with acrylics, birthing clumsy abstracts that he praised with exaggerated awe. "See, that's rage, beautifully misplaced." The kids warmed to me slow. The bandana girl, Tasha, dubbing me Suits until I proved my mettle in a mural collab, layering blues that echoed his storms. Laughter came easier, unforced. Nights were ours. Candlelit dinners from corner markets. Indie flicks on his ancient projector. Bodies entwined in explorations that felt like homecoming. But the haunting persisted. Subtler now, not visions, but voids. Grocery runs unearthed tabloid headlines. Hargrove's shocking exit, burnout or breakdown, Victor spinning narratives to save face. My inbox brimmed with headhunters' lures, old colleagues' pity pokes, Bridgewater's hiring, think consultant? I deleted them, but the pull tugged, purpose, the adrenaline of the hunt. Christopher sensed it, evenings when I'd pace the tiny living room, staring at the skyline sketch he'd pinned up, a reminder of bridges crossed. One night, over pad thai from the Thai spot on Bleecker, it boiled over. "You're fidgeting," he said. Chopsticks paused. Like a caged wolf, I set down my fork. Appetite fled. "It's nothing. Just adjusting." Bull, his eyes, ever perceptive, pinned me. "The world's not ending because you quit, John. But you're acting like it is." Frustration crested. "Easy for you, art's your soul. Mine was that chaos. Now, I'm adrift. Who am I without the title?" He reached across, hand warm on mine. "You're the man who chose us." That's enough. But was it? Days blurred into a rhythm, yet unease festered. A call from my sister, Emily, voice tinny from Cleveland. Mom's asking questions. "John, your break? And who's this Christopher in the gala pics?" Family ties, strained by my omissions, now fraying. "Tell them the truth," Christopher urged later, but fear coiled. Rejection, the final betrayal. The climax brewed mid-December, snow dusting the park like confectioner's sugar, holiday lights twinkling premature defiance against the cold. Victor's invite arrived via courier, engraved card for a reconciliation lunch at the Four Seasons, neutral ground. He claimed, "For old times, curiosity, masochism, whatever drove me." 1 hour, I told Christopher, kissing him goodbye in the kitchen, his worry unspoken. The Seagram Building's pool room was a time capsule. Travertine floors, Saarinen tables, Victor ensconced in a banquette like a deposed monarch. "John," he greeted, rising with a hug too tight. "You look rustic." Village life agreeing, thriving. I slid in opposite, menu a barrier. Lunch ordered club sandwich for him, salad for me, the irony not lost. He wasted no words. "The firm's hurting without you. Hail deal solid. But the streets whispering, Hargrove jumped ship, we need you back. Consultant gig, flexible hours. Name your terms." Temptation slithered, velvet gloved. "Why now? You called it suicide." PR spin. He leaned in, conspiratorial. "And frankly, John, we miss your edge. Whatever's got you mooning over that artist type is a phase. Come home." The dismissal ignited. Phase? 15 years I bent for this place. Closeted, compliant. Christopher's not a phase. He's my life. Victor's brow arched, amusement flickering. "Life? Darling, life's the game. You were winning." A pause, voice dropping. Or was the personal reasons code for burnout in the bedroom, rage blinded, betrayal's sharpest cut, reducing love to punchline? I stood, chair scraping. "Fuck you, Victor. And fuck your game." Out the door, into the lobby's hush, pulse thundering. But the seed planted doubt, insidious. Back home, Christopher read my face instant. "What happened?" I collapsed onto the futon, head in hands. He offered it back, the life. Said you're a phase. His flinch was visceral, pain raw. And I walked. But the lie tasted bitter. Part of me had lingered, weighing the scales. That night, the fight was cataclysmic, worse than before, words as shrapnel. "You're not all in," he accused, voice cracking. "You're here, but your head's uptown, chasing validation. That's not fair, isn't it? You left once for success. What's stopping you now?" Tears tracked his cheeks, unashamed. "I can't be your consolation prize, John." "Not again." The room spun, our haven fracturing. "I love you," I pleaded, reaching. But he stepped back, walls slamming. "Love's not enough if it's half." He grabbed his coat, door slamming echo. "Need air." "Don't wait up." Alone. The apartment closed in, ghosts multiplying. Young us laughing, betrayed us weeping. Paced, phone in hand, dialing Emily on impulse. "Sis, it's time you met someone." Her flight landed 2 days later. Holiday cover. She called it "Blonde Bob and Sensible Heels Navigating the Subway with Wide-Eyed Grit." Christopher returned that eve. I shadowed. Reconciliation tentative. Take-out tie. Stilted talk. Then the buzzer. Emily. Arms laden with airport fudge. "John Hargrove. You secretive bastard. Where's this mystery man?" Awkwardness thawed slow. Beers cracked. Stories swapped. Her tales of suburban PDA wars. His of ranch rebellions. By midnight, laughter flowed. Emily toasting. To family, blood or chosen. Her hug to Christopher was fierce. "Hurt him, I bury you in Ohio snow." But the thaw was illusion. Victor's ploy festered, manifesting in nightmares. Boardrooms bleeding ink. Christopher fading to shadow. New Year's Eve dawned brittle. The city hung over in gray. We joined the village revelry. Fireworks over the arch. Crowds pulsing with queer joy. Drag queens in sequins. Couples kissing unashamed. His hand in mine anchored. But as midnight told, champagne fizzing, doubt crested. "I got an offer," I confessed post-kiss. Voices lost in cheers. "Not sterling, quiet firm. Remote work. Balance." His face shuddered. "Another chase? No, us first." But the seed of betrayal, mine to him, had taken root. January brought blizzards. The city hunkered. Emily's visit bridged, but departure unearthed the rift. "Fight for him, John. Like you fought for everything else." Alone again. We rebuilt therapy sessions at a queer center. His sketches of us evolving from storm to sunrise. Yet tension simmered, unspoken. The breaking point came Valentine's. Candlelit dinner at his favorite bistro. Snow falling soft outside. Midway through risotto, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail blinking. "Victor, John." Hale's firm imploded scandal. "Your projections? Gold. We need you." Full return. Corner office. "Don't throw it away." I deleted it, but Christopher saw. "Who?" "No one." Fatal. His fork clattered. "Bullshit. You're slipping, John." Eyes glazing at every ping, like it's oxygen. "It's not. Stop." He stood, chair toppling. "You're haunting me now. The man I love, gone chasing again." Tears, furious. "Go back. Be the king. But leave me whole." He stormed out into the snow, door echoing finality. I chased streets slick, heart pounding, but he vanished into whiteout, a ghost of my making. Days blurred, unanswered calls, his studio dark. I pounded pavements, begging Tasha for leads. Mister. Sees hurting bad. Suits. Give him space. Nights alone. Whiskey my confessor. Ghosts converging. Young Christopher's laugh. Victor's sneer. My father's silence. Betrayal's apex. I called Victor. Terms. Welcome home. Triumph purred. But as I hung up, soul fracturing, the haunting peaked. Christopher materializing in every mirror. Every shadow. You promised. I broke then, sobbing on the futon. The city indifferent. Dawn brought clarity. Cruel. Success was the noose. Love, the air. Word count, 1001. File 5. February's thaw was metaphorical. The city shedding ice in dirty rivulets that mirrored my unraveling. Victor's office waited. Reinstated desk. Stacks of briefs like manacles, but I ghosted it. Phone silenced. Wandering the village like a penitent in purgatory. Christopher's building loomed accusatory. Stoop a barrier I couldn't cross. Notes slipped under his door. I'm sorry. Let me explain. Unanswered. Tasha's pitying glances at the center. He ain't coming in. Suits. Says he's done teaching ghosts. Desperation peaked mid-month. A nor'easter brewing offshore. Winds howling preludes to chaos. Emily's call pierced the fog. John? Mom's sick cancer scare. Needs you home. And she knows. About Christopher. I told her. The words landed like defibrillator paddles. You what? Time, bro. She's asking for her son, the real one. Pause. Soft. Go see him. Fix it before it's too late. I did, pounding his door at dusk. Storm sirens wailing distant. No answer. Panic clawed. I buzzed neighbors till one grumbled open. Upstairs. His door ajar careless. Or invitation. Inside. Chaos. Canvases slashed. Turpentine spilled. His duffel half-packed on the futon. Chris. A crash from the studio, him. Emerging wild-eyed. Razor in hand mid-cut on a half-finished portrait. Our faces. Intertwined. Now gashed. Out, John. You've done enough. No. I blocked the door. Rain lashed from the fire escape sprint. Hear me. Mom's sick. Emily told her about us. She wants to meet you. He laughed. Bitter shatter. Convenient. Deathbed redemption. Not that. I stepped closer. Hands open. It's real. And this us is real. I turned down Victor. For good. His eyes narrowed. Razor lowering. Liar. Check my phone. I tossed it. Deleted threads. Victor's blocked number. I'm done. Chris. No more chases. Just you. The storm broke then, literal. Skies splitting. Thunder rumbling like judgment. He dropped the blade. Collapsing against me. Sobs racking as rain hammered the roof. You broke me, John. Twice. I know. Holding him. World narrowing to this, his weight. His warmth. The salt of tears on my tongue. Let me mend it. We talked through the night. Huddled on the floor. Whiskey shared from the bottle. Truths bared like flayed skins. His pain. The abandonment's echo. Trust eroded to dust. Mine. Ambition's hollow core. The boy who'd fled love for approval. Dawn crept. Storm spent. Leaving puddles and possibility. Fly with me. I whispered, kissing his temple. Meet them. Be my family. He searched my eyes. Vulnerability raw. Scared shitless. But, yeah. Cleveland waited, suburban rancher. Snow-blanketed. Mom frail in her recliner. Dad hovering awkward. Emily orchestrated. Airport hugs. Tense drive. The house smelling of pot roast and peroxide. Mom's hand in mine trembled. John. My boy. Then to Christopher. Tentative. The one who stole his heart? He knelt. Texas charm soft. Guilty. Ma'am. Hope that's all right. Tears welled. She pulled him close. Been waiting to thank you. For loving him true. Dad grunted approval over coffee. Stories of his own hidden struggles surfacing. A cousin lost to silence. Regrets unspoken. Healing. Incremental. Laughter over cards. Christopher's sketches adorning the fridge. Mom's chemo rounds met with his steady hand in mine. Back in New York. Spring unfurled tentative. Cherry blossoms in the park. Our walks reclaiming paths. I found work. Freelance consulting for queer startups. Ours mine. Purpose aligned. He exhibited the mended portrait, us, whole at a Soho gallery. Critics murmuring of resilient intimacy. Sales funded a down payment on a loft in Brooklyn. Space for studios. For us. Yet the humanistic core lingered. Not fairy tale, but forged. Arguments flared. My lingering workaholic ticks. His walls rebuilt overnight, but we fought fair. Therapy our referee. One June Eve. Under that same oak in the quad. NYU commencement thrumming nearby. We renewed vows unspoken. Rings simple. Silver. Engraved with no more shadows. Years wove on. Mom's remission celebrated with barbecues. Emily's wedding where Christopher walked me down the aisle as best man. Soul edition. Success redefined, not towers, but touchstones. His first solo show in Chelsea. My TED Talk on ambition's cost. Vulnerability applauded. But hauntings? They evolved gentle reminders, not chains. In boardrooms consulted. His face in my mind's eye anchor. In quiet nights, my hand in his home. One autumn, revisiting the bridge, dusk painting cables gold. I turned to him, wind tousling silvered hair. Chased you all along, didn't I? He grinned, that half-smile eternal. And caught me. Every room now, ours. We kissed. City sprawling below, a canvas unfinished, but ours to paint. Human, flawed, loved. In the end, success wasn't the summit, but the shared path. Dramatic in storms weathered, emotional in tears dried, romantic in stolen glances, humanistic in forgiveness earned. No ghosts left, only echoes of grace.